2 years ago, I quit my engineering job even though my 3D print firm was barely making enough money to survive. Was that courageous or just stupid? In this video, I will share some real numbers, the fears I had, and what I wish I knew before going full-time with my 3D print business. A few weeks ago, I did an AMA in my school community where members asked me anything about building a 3D print business. Some questions really stood out. The ones about the scary moment you are thinking, should I actually do this full-time? So I pulled out some selected clips to share with you. Quick heads up, this was a live recording, so the production quality is different from my usual videos. But the content is too good not to share. These are the raw, honest answers I gave to real questions from the community. We will cover what to focus on when you're getting your first sales, the worries I had when starting out, why I went all in instead of playing it safe, and the actual profit numbers when I quit my job. Let's get into it. For those of us who are just starting to get our first consistent sales, that's actually already a good step. What would you say is the most important thing to focus on in the early stage to build real momentum? There's product design, branding, content creation, improving print workflow, customer feedback, SEO, pricing, a lot more, and it's easy to feel pulled in every direction. Yes, I understand that. If you're a solopreneur and you have to handle all that stuff, it's really hard to decide where to focus on. From your experience, what's the single highest leverage activity that helps a new store grow from its first few orders to steady, reliable sales? Yes, there's a lot in that. So first of all, the product needs to have potential, right? So the product should solve a real world problem and need to be validated if that product makes sense. If you're already starting to get your first consistent sales, which sounds to me like we already got good reviews and people are already buying your product in small numbers, then it's all about marketing. If I look at the points that you mentioned, the branding, content creation, customer feedback, SEO, all these play into that direction. So I think as soon as you know that your product works, you need to tell people, right? The best product, if nobody knows it, will not sell. But a good product with great marketing can generate you a lot of orders. So I think after you have developed the product and found some customers that are happy with it, then it's all about content creation, getting email addresses for your newsletter, and just post videos or any content that explains a pain point and then shows also your product. In general, I see it like this. There's always supply and demand, right? So in the start, you have a lot of supply, you printed your products, but not a lot of people are buying. But then if you found a product that sells well, then it's about to break your supply side. So you should generate demand by using paid ads or content marketing or influencer marketing. This is what we did in the start and still doing it, to break the supply side, right? Meaning that you have so many orders, you have to buy more printers. And then after you've fixed the supply side by having now, let's say 5 printers and automation system, hopefully, then you will be sitting on too many products. So then it's about to break the demand side again. So you have to push with more sales to get more people looking at your product, or develop a next product that makes in the same niche that solves another problem. And you can then tell your customers that already bought your first product there's something more. You can do an upsell, something more expensive, but can also generate the value. In order then to break the supply side, buy more printers and then fix the supply side and then go back and forth. This way, I think it's the best way to grow in the end. Yeah, in the end, it's marketing. It can be Etsy ads, it can be paid ads on Meta or Google, or it can be just an Instagram or TikTok account, right? So there are many ways to do it. What were you worried about when you first started? And with the experience you have now, what advice would you give newcomers to focus on? The things that I worry about change. I mean, when I started, really, the first couple of months, I was still working full-time and 2 jobs. So there, I was probably worried about too many orders because I was already running 6 printers 24/7 in order to keep up with the sales. And my girlfriend was fulfilling all of them in the evening, and we had 1 child and the second one was on the way. So I would say it's a bit of a luxury problem to have if you have too many sales. So There were days where there was just not enough parts to ship, and Etsy was quite strict on how many days you have to ship it. So this was quite stressful. So I was at that time really worried about being overwhelmed by all the different things, right? Having children was already something, and then still working full time, and then all the evenings and some weekends spent doing the side hustle that now developed into something bigger. Of course, I was very lucky that the influencer bought my stuff and loved them, and then so it exploded quite quickly. But after, I would say, a couple of months or almost a year, where I thought, this is becoming something, because it was still growing. So I think at that point we had like 8 printers, all automated, of course. Otherwise, it would have been too much work for me as a side hustle. And we reached already a revenue of 8,000 to 10,000. So just doing it as a side hustle, I was thinking about quitting my job and go full time. But there I was really worried that I'm throwing away a great day job, because I loved my job, to be honest. I really liked working in R&D, in research and development of this company I was employed at. So I was worried that I'm throwing away a very good position for something that just fails within a couple of months, because might have been just lucky that people are buying it. I was worried that I cannot create another bestseller. So Renan also developed something, and it became a bestseller within a couple of weeks. So I was like, there might be really something there that we could do. If we would just spend more time and develop more products, we should be able to reach a point where we can live off that, right? We just did something we liked, and apparently other people liked as well. But how can we do it on a consistent basis? Develop products that we need, they need, and generate enough sales, right? But it was not true, of course. So my worry that we were not able to develop a next bestseller turned out to be completely wrong. So our revenue on the product side on Crimaloop is doubling every year. So we understood how to do it. And one thing what we understood is what product to develop is one thing, and the other one is how to market them, right? So my advice, therefore, is to dive deep into Reddit and Facebook groups where the people are discussing things in your niche. So in our case, it's coffee forums, right? We see their complaints, we see in the reviews of coffee products what people don't like, and we just make it better. Or we see a pain point that there is nothing there yet to solve, and we build it. It's like the slow feeder we did. It was a YouTube video where people are talking about the effect of slow feeding, and it has a very good effect if you just feed coffee beans slowly into a grinder. And then we built a product to do that automatically instead of manually. So yeah, read, gather information, understand the pain points of your potential customers, of your ideal customers, and then solve the problem and give it to them. And the bigger the pain there is, the more people are willing to pay. But on the other side, you should focus on people that have excess income to also pay you, right? So these are the two things, in my opinion. My other question is, why did you head straight into full-time, not kind of play it safe with going part-time for 20 hours and doing the farming business in the rest of the time? I've asked this question myself a lot before I quit my job. So I'm the guy that likes to go fully into something instead of doing it as a side. So because I've done it 1.5 years as a side hustle, right? It was already proving itself that it works. So I was like, if I spend 10 hours a week doing something like that and it's still growing, then if I go full-time, it has to explode, right? Which it didn't, by the way. Yeah, I underestimated all the other stuff that is part of doing business, like accounting and then fulfillment and all the stuff that keeps you in the valley of despair. So you have sales, but then you have so many side tasks with so many hats to wear that you are drowning in all different stuff and your sales at some point just stagnates. Okay, but back to the question. First of all, as an engineer working in R&D, it's hard to go, let's say 50%. I would have need to find a different job, something that is more flexible. I don't even know what that would be. The thing is, if you say you do a smooth transition like that, you go part-time, let's say I work in a supermarket, whatever, for 20 hours and then do the rest on the side. If it fails, let's say your side hustle does not grow a lot, I would always ask myself, is it because I didn't go full-time on it that it failed? I'd rather go full-time and fail completely, meaning that I quit my job, I do that, I focused on 3D printing, but after 1 year, nothing happened. Or we stagnate and we cannot even pay out a bit of salary, or we don't see growth potential. Then I can say, okay, I tried everything. I worked 60, 70 hours a week on it, day and night. It didn't work out. But if I do part-time and it fails, it would not be a proper fail. Because I would just then say, okay, then I quit my part-time job and then I go full-time and see if it still fails, right? So it's a bit of a waste of time. But I'm also aware that it's a luxury to be able to quit and go full-time, because I had savings, or we had savings, and we consumed a huge chunk of that saving. So living in Switzerland is not that cheap. So to the point of today, we didn't pay out a lot of salary, to be honest. So we're still living off savings, because now we are reinvesting those. So we want to grow and we are pushing a lot of different products. So liquidity at some point becomes a struggle. So I wanted to go full-time. I told my girlfriend, give me 1 year. If it doesn't work out, I will find another job. And then I failed this journey, right? And after 1 year, I was like, I need a couple of months more. But in the end, we saw growth potential. But we had this huge, let's say, failure with the Cura Loop site. I made a video about it where we lost probably around 30,000 in that. But we knew that, something is coming, right? Because there was the slow feed already in development. So then I was like, give me just a couple of months, and then it worked out. So it was not easy, but now I think we reach a level where we can say, it's working out. My third question from Michael. At which monthly profit number did you go full-time? Would you advise to go full-time with 3D printing? Ooh, monthly profit number. Okay, let's go with some hard numbers. We're in Switzerland. It's one of the most expensive countries in the world. So I did some calculations before I quit, which were how much money we need to survive at our standard with 2 kids and everything. And the number sits roughly around 6,000 per month in income. My girlfriend is working part-time, so she can cover part of it, and the rest we have to consume from our savings, right? So we had a yearly revenue of 40,000, which was around 3,000 to 4,000 in average. We have a very seasonal revenue development. So in winter we are around 8,000 to 10,000, and in summer there's almost nothing. The average was around 4,000 in revenue. So in profits at that time, that's like 1/3 of it is roughly profit. So 1,500 in profit, and then I quit my job. So don't do that. That was me being overly optimistic, as always. So I wouldn't recommend that. I think I've heard about a rule where they say, okay, take the worst month of the last 12 months. And if that number, that profit is enough for you to survive, if you don't have savings, right? If you have to pay out money to survive, that's the one. So you try to get above, with profit, not revenue, with profit above the level of what you can survive on, but the worst month. So theoretically, if you put it to our case, I think I would have needed 2,000 to 3,000 in profit per month to survive. So there would have been a revenue around 10,000, but it has to be the worst month, giving you 10,000. It's not easy, but I was quite optimistic on that. So you can say optimistic or stupid. It's a floating, how do you say, a barrier. That the line is quite hard to find between being courageous and stupid. So if you take home per month around 4,000, let's say, but that's 4,000 income. You should do it on how much money you need to survive. So not income, but what's your minimal spend. I mean, you can live in a caravan and only spend like 2,000 a month. And if you can take out 2,000 from your side hustle or 3D print business, then you can survive, right? So it also depends on how much you can scale down your cost. But in our case, with 2 kids, it's hard to live in a caravan. But if we would not have enough savings, I would have sold our car, and then it would give us a couple of months more to see if this is a valid journey. I hope that makes sense. But in the end, I have to say it's a very personal question, right? So it depends on how much savings you have, how much your wife or your girlfriend makes, and if there are kids around or not. So it's hard to give a direct answer. But in our case, I mean, it was really on the edge. I felt something that told me that it should be fine. But it could have also destroyed us financially if my feeling would have been wrong, right? So that's a real story without sugarcoating. It was risky, maybe a bit stupid, but it worked out. If you're on this journey yourself or thinking about starting, drop a comment. I'd love to hear where you're at. And if you want to join the community where we did this AMA and get access to tools, templates and more of these conversations, check out the Skool link in the description. Happy printing! See you in the next one.